going to the right grade?
You ready? Okay. All right, we're starting Education and Youth Committee meeting. I'm standing in for the chair, Zion Baldwin. My name is Dewarney Moran. I traditionally chair bylaws, policy, and legislation. It is 6:16. We'll do introductions, starting off with Angela.
Hi everyone, my name is Ardell Ortiz. I'm a board member here. Sergeant at Arms also. Good to see everyone this evening. And hello to everyone.
Hi, good evening. My name is Umayya Rahman and I'm a community board member as well.
Hello, my name is Stephanie Delgado. I am the chair of the
Thank you all.
My name is Aisha.
Stephen Palmer's Community Associate for Bronx Community Board.
Good afternoon, everyone. Anthony Jordan, District Manager to the board.
All right. We'll start with presentations, starting with our superintendent.
This for FYI, Madam Chair, our meetings are publicized and at our live stream and our YouTube channel. We've got our Bronx channel. Welcome, Superintendent.
Okay, so good evening, board members, fellow guests, colleagues, and community members. My name is Roberto Padilla. I'm the Bronx Superintendent of District 7. And tonight I'd like to just go over a couple things the district has been working on over this past year and some of our more recent culminating events. But before I do, I want to ground us in some very important context, and that'll be the New York City Public Schools mission and the District 7 vision. It's very important every time I get a chance to speak in front of the community, our own very board of education, our school administrators and teachers, families and students. I always try to make sure that we ground ourselves in the mission and vision. Right? So here you can see that the mission for the New York City Public Schools is to ensure that every student graduates on a pathway to a rewarding career and long-term economic security, equipped to be a positive force for change. Now, this speaks to me very personally and professionally. It's a very powerful statement, but if you just indulge me for a second, the work that we're trying to do, and you'll see in a second how this connects to our vision, is really making sure we're providing students the kind of opportunities that puts them on a particular path. And the beauty of New York City Public Schools is there's choice in that path. We're doing a lot of work right now around financial literacy. We understand fundamentally that if our children are going to have generational success, they have to know how to read and they have to have financial literacy. They need to know how money works. Lastly, what I would also submit is that while that's important, we hope that they graduate and they're equipped to be a positive force for change. We would like that change to be here in the South Bronx. But quite frankly, if it's anywhere else in New York City or even anywhere else in the world, that's okay. Our world needs more leaders, and why not the children of District 7? Fine. All right, so here you'll see, in a very similar fashion, our vision is one powerful statement. D7 is the bridge to generational success. I consider you the bridge. Right? The role that you play to create the kinds of conditions where our students graduate and have financial, economic security, equipped to be a positive force for change. Much of the dialogue that we've been countering over the past 2 years is that when our families speak of their generational experiences, it's often not captured in the most successful way. And I think the education system can do something about it. I believe this community board can do something about that. So that way, we're telling stories of generational success. Again, grounding that in making sure our kids know how to read and they know how money works. So just a couple of successes worth noting. This might seem like it's easy, and I'll tell you it is not. Attendance all across the country is an issue. Specifically in the South Bronx, what you'll notice if you are familiar with the history of the district, it's not known for coming in first for things of great success, student achievement, and here you can see attendance. District 7, the South Bronx, currently leads the entire borough in year-to-date attendance. We have the best year-to-date attendance, and we have the lowest chronic absenteeism. So chronic absenteeism here is simply children who miss 18 or more days in a given school year. We have the lowest. I'll go a step further and say we not only have the best year-to-date attendance and chronic absenteeism in the borough, we have one of the best in the entire city. And so this is part of rewriting the narrative, but it also speaks to the kinds of connections and relationships that we're building with families. We can't teach them how to read. We can't teach children about financial literacy. We can't teach them about math if they don't show up every day. Our biggest challenge are our youngest scholars. So children in our 3K, pre-K, and kindergarten programs, they have among the worst attendance in the entire city. And the caveat with that is our youngest children don't bring themselves to school. They're caregivers. So we're trying to appeal to our parents. Please, please, please make sure you bring your children to school every day. You do that, they have a fighting chance at having generational success. I want to talk a little bit about a very big initiative. I hope you've heard about it. New York City Reads. Okay, New York City Reads, I'll tell you very quickly, is a literacy initiative grounded in the science of reading. I'm sure you heard something on TV or you read something about New York City Reads over the past year and a half. There are 2 phases to New York City Reads. Phase 1 consisted of 15 school districts across the city where they standardized their literacy curriculum. They had an option of 3 choices. District 7 was a phase 2 school district. And so we are going to be implementing our new literacy curriculum starting this September. This is pretty profound because the district has never had a uniform standardized literacy approach. It's been a mesh of different approaches. Some schools kind of winging it, if I'm being quite honest. Others building a curriculum and using it and trying their best, while other schools purchasing a product. So we chose, with great input, we took over a year to talk to our families, to talk to our educators. We even had focus groups with students to really understand the kind of literacy experience they wanted, and then we matched that with the best option that was available to us. That option was EL education. It's an inquiry-based approach to literacy. The texts are highly engaging. We're actually piloting the program now from May to June, and the reviews have been extremely positive. So we feel like we're on the right track. We've been training teachers and administrators since January, leading up to this September. So here's just some examples of the training. We're also training our educators and leaders in the science of reading. And so here you can see the number of staff members that have engaged in that training. This is not a program, it's knowledge building around what the science says about the brain and how children learn how to read. This is important because we're building a foundation. We don't want to start on the second floor, we want to start on the foundation. And this is making sure we're grounded in common language, common knowledge around the science of how children should know how to read. We have more training taking place this summer, and we are currently in the midst of putting the final touches on our implementation plan. The implementation plan will include how we will support schools, how we're going to support families So that way, again, our children have a fighting chance at having generational success. The goal here is to make sure they can read by third grade. And simply what I'm highlighting for you is the number of training opportunities that will be taking place this summer. And then lastly, I'll just end with, again, part of rewriting that narrative and highlighting the good work that's taking place. What I didn't mention, but I will, this is the first time the district has ever outpaced the city in proficiency for ELA and math. The very first time. So again, I think that is just evidence and goodwill and examples of the good work that's currently taking place. Obviously, we're not done yet. We have a lot of work to do. But the fact that we could be leading the borough, leading certain districts across the city, and outperforming the city average in proficiency in ELA and math are great signs that the district is moving in the right direction. One of the things that I definitely pride myself on as a superintendent is that I don't have all the answers, but I know the answers in the room. And I also make it a point to not speak to parents and community members after the fact. After planning has taken place and we're ready to execute something, it's quite the opposite. We go to the community, we speak to our families at the onset of critical decisions. So this is just one example of launching a family advisory committee to really lift up the ideas, understand the experiences that they've had, and what they ultimately want for their children. We do something called Café con Siete, and those are community town halls that we've had throughout the year. Throughout the most southern point to the most northern point of the district, we've done them in the morning, in the middle of the day, and the evening to give families options and opportunities to attend. They're always well attended, and we leave there with a number of ideas of how we can continue to. So some of the things you may not read about and know is that our students are going on international trips. And so here you can see a number of students and parents that went to South Korea this past year. And we have a partnership with the Korean embassy. They supported us in language development and understanding their culture throughout the entire year before students and parents were even afforded the opportunity to actually go there in person. And so they've been engaged in this work for quite some time now, and it was nice to see them actually, take 10 days and travel to another country to see the customs firsthand. So here you can see a number of our scholars receiving awards and being honored for their learning and their achievement. This year we launched our very first financial literacy, and I'll just quickly say, because it says the D7 Promise, what also was launched this year, and this is again after hearing our parents and asking them what's important, what do they want to see us do or do better, and there were 4 things that surfaced, and they ultimately became the D7 Promise. One was financial literacy, the second promise was civics, the third promise was wellness, and the fourth promise was athletics. So as a result of what our community told us, we partnered, and this is just a number of the key partners that connected with us to launch our very first Financial Literacy Expo. It was a hit. It was an absolute hit. We had students come and present their learning over this past year, and it ranged from elementary school all the way to high school. So here you can see 95 students, 25 presentations, 11 schools. Our MCs were students, right? This was their event. They were showcasing their learning in partnership with community organizations. Most recently, we had our literacy fair last week, another well-attended event. And again, it's not like D7 is just working in a vacuum. We're partnering with the community. So whether that be the public library, Star Lighthouse, and other educational firms to bring this to life. Again, first event, we plan to do this every year. Just a couple of visuals. We had workshops for families of what they can do at home to support a literacy culture in their homes. a lot of giveaways, and literacy events. And then most recently, again, this is about providing opportunities and exposing our children to just great learning. As we competed in the soapbox derby against other districts in the borough. And for the very first, this was our first time doing it. And one of our schools came away with second place. But they built these cars. This is with their hands, months and months of training, learning the science and the engineering behind building, the car. And groups of students from various schools participated. It was, here you can see, 40 students just really coming together to compete against other school districts. So I want to thank you for your time and thank you for your partnership.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for your presentation. We do have some questions. First, we're going to open it up to obviously our community board members, and then anybody else can ask questions as well. But I'm going to start off with you guys.
Now, I have a slight question. I commend you and compliment you on these programs. This is great. One of the main questions I have, which I know is actually an issue in our district, how do youngsters, for example, that have dyslexia, and I'm aware of a lot of kids all up to high school that struggle academically because they were never given the proper evaluation. And especially, like you said, a lot of times it's up to the caregivers, especially if you're a child, to make sure that, but it's so difficult for them to get access to the proper evaluations, and so difficult for them to be placed in the proper programs. And I personally work with youngsters who couldn't read. It's not that they didn't want to come to school. It's not that they didn't want to learn. I had a youngster when I used to be a teacher a long time ago. One time I had a kid in my class who was actually I found that strange. He was a well-behaved kid, was very enthusiastic about learning and coming to school and everything, had good attendance, but for some reason or the other, whenever it came time to like reading or writing, the kid got stuck, and I had to go on my own to the counselor's office, sign a special permit because if the parent is not there, you have to now go through even more curtails with that. And it turned out that the kid was severely dyslexic. So what kind of tools and what kind of resources are available? And I know that especially here in this district, well, in every district, that happens actually more often than we expected to happen.
Yeah, so great question. Unfortunately, I can't address what that young person's experience was at that time. But what I can share is that we have the very first public dyslexia school in the nation, right here in our district, South Bronx Literacy Academy. It's in its first year with grades second and third, and eventually it will go up to eighth grade. Part of Mayor Adams' initiative, he's been very public about the fact that he was dyslexic when he was in school. New York City Public Schools is now required to do that screening for all children.
So just to build off, community board member, can you tell me a little bit about South Bronx Literacy? It only has second and third grade. I know the goal is to go to eighth. But if you are not at that school, but you are in our district, how do you get those resources?
So it's actually open to every child in the borough. So District 7 is a choice district, which means we receive children from Manhattan and other parts of the Bronx. Part of what we learned, this is a new school that was created based on need. I think to your point, far too many children experience literacy struggles their whole life and didn't know why. So strategically, the school starts in second grade because through some of the screening in pre-K and kindergarten, where children are learning how to read, and then some of their literacy struggles start to surface. It's giving them a chance through the screening and through some of the programs that our schools have in an early childhood setting to see by the time they get to second grade if they are in fact dyslexic or starting to experience any language acquisition struggles. And so again, it's open to all families in the borough.
So if I'm in third grade or sixth grade right now, could I get screened?
Yes.
Okay, and if I got screened, what would happen to me since I couldn't go to
Yeah,
this
you're not gonna
school?
be able to go to this.
Of course,
school.
yeah.
Yeah.
So what happens?
No, I mean, there's other reading intervention programs that the school should pursue, and they range. So I would say a child who has dyslexia probably requires what we call a tier 3 intervention. So it's going to be a small group, usually 2-to-1, sometimes 1-to-1, with a reading intervention teacher working with a science-based, research-based program. So like Ward Gillingham, or there's a few.
Okay, so this is the last thing I'm gonna ask back, just because we're on literacy. So last year, our literacy rate, and not perfect, but was like 30% for third graders and 29% for fourth graders. Are those type of programs you just discussed, the one-on-one, is that happening right now on like micro levels in the district to help the literacy rate?
So we have what's called AIS, Academic Intervention Services, in each school. Now, if I'm being very transparent, in a community where 70% of your children are not proficient in reading, you have to tackle that literacy challenge uniquely. So that means we have to make sure that tier 1, which is 80% of how students receive their instruction, we're putting our chips in the middle, so to speak. I mean, that's where we have to concentrate because that's where the bulk of our students receive their support. And so that is a real focus for us. So tier 1, core instruction, we need to make sure that students are receiving high quality instruction so that they don't need the interventions, hence what you're asking. But thankfully, we've been moving in a good way. The goal obviously is not to have 60% of our students below grade level, it's to have 90, 100% of our kids on reading level. But this is a national crisis. Literacy across the entire country, sadly, reflects these kinds of numbers, and more so in Black and brown communities. So we've just taken the position, look, there's no silver bullet to this. There's no easy answer or solution to this. If so, everyone would have done it already. But I believe in this approach. It hasn't been done before. I think it does give us a fighting chance to really support our students in ways they just have not been before. So I'm excited to see what year 2 and 3 look like after we roll out our plan.
Why do you believe there's been a decrease in
Yeah, I mean, there's a number of reasons for that. There's been a decline in enrollment all across New York City. Well, it's not just this district, but we're certainly, like almost every district in the city has seen a decline. We also are the #1 charter district in the whole state. So there is just a lot of competition. So if a family has a struggle in one school, it's not hard for them to pick up and go down the street to another school. Or vice versa. We get a lot of kids who come back from charters.
So
But that is a big crux of our enrollment issue, is that there's just a lot of competition.
yeah, I was gonna ask this, we, I think this year saw, I think like from 2012, which was our peak, like 5,000 decrease. Is there like a recruitment or retention, and if there's not, maybe it's not necessary, does that huge decrease impact our budget for the district? You see what I mean? If we're losing numbers, is that impacting?
So yes and yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so-
obviously it's a student-driven financial model.
Yeah.
The more students you have, the more financial resources you have. So it is something that we contend with, and it is why we do have a recruitment and marketing strategy.
So given that that's the case, why has it taken 8 years to get these programs started when we know literacy is the main problem?
And
Since forever.
that's like the
It's not like
question.
it's not something that we have to screen.
Yeah,
Children,
listen,
and it's something.
you have the answer to that question, you're a billionaire. And I mean that sincerely. No one has been able to figure it out, is what I'm saying. Even the most smartest people in the world.
It's not about figuring it out, but it's coming together, putting programs in place, and more resources in place. So the parents don't have to run and lie about where their kids live because they're trying to pay for the school, especially if you have the people.
Yeah, I can't speak to 8 years ago. I can certainly speak to the past 2 years and the work that we're engaged in. And thankfully, we have people buying in. Our families are responding in ways they just haven't responded before. I think some of that is that we value them a little differently than perhaps. And again, I want to be careful. I don't want to speak about the leadership 8 years ago because I don't know who they were. I don't know what the priorities were. I can only share what they are right now. We have slowed down. So there's been a decline every year since from the year you mentioned. We have slowed down that decline in the past 2 years. But again, I think unique in that I'm not adversarial with the charters. Again, it's competition, and I'm pro parent choice. So if a parent feels they can get a better education in a charter, I would disagree with them. But ultimately, it's their prerogative. Uh, I have expressed my concerns, but again, we are in the #1 charter district in the state. So because there's so many options for families, they can choose accordingly. We just have to elevate our programs in a way that they can see that we have viable, innovative programs that I think they would want.
Yes, Muhammad.
Good evening. Thank you, Superintendent, to attend our community meeting. I have a serious concern that you already mentioned, as we are like a black and brown community, especially immigrant community. There is any additional resources that we can be helpful for the students. That's the thing that
Yeah. I mean, I feel like we're doing a lot to connect with all families. I'll give you a quick example. We have a school that has had a lot of newcomers. And the thing about newcomers that come to the community is that sometimes against their will, they will come here in the South Bronx and stay for a month or two, and then are transitioned to another part of the city against their will. We've seen families who are new to the city who have come here and say, for instance, were transferred to Brooklyn, still come here to go to school when they can easily go to a school in Brooklyn. They're still making the choice to come here, and that says a lot. That they feel welcome, they feel nurtured, right? They're not being treated as the other. And that's the beauty in what we're doing. Is that they're not treated as you're a newcomer, and there's a lot families are trying to acclimate to a new country, new ways of schooling and life. And the fact that they're figuring out how to travel from a place they don't know to a place that has accepted them, I think is the kind of culture you would be proud of.
thank you, sir, for being special attention for the newcomers. Welcome there. All of you present.
So I wanted, any other questions? I want to talk about, so we have a very low graduation rate here. I think it's 71%, 72% in comparison to the city, which is 86%. But let's just compare Bronx to the Bronx, because the city skews their numbers, but we're also relatively low, or even, as not this year, the numbers are not out, but compared to the other districts. Do you know what a leading contributing factor is? Like as community board wants to work with obviously District 7, like what do you think contributes to some of that issues? I know that I think CB9 has the highest rate of unhoused students, and so their numbers and their graduation rate is still higher than us.
Yeah, so I want to be very careful. So there are two school districts in District 7. There's a high school district, and then there's us. Now, I do have a high school, but our graduation rate is 93, 94%. Now, I don't want to speak, my colleagues, she should be the best person to speak to the high school because that is her portfolio. She retired. So, I know under her, she's been here for 2 years, and she has done good work as well. But gives you to think about.
Right first step. Right first step. I don't remember what CBO stand for, community something schools.
So CBOs, community board organization, so I don't think it's that.
It's not, don't we have 21 in the district?
So there could be CBOs that are partnering with schools.
Yeah.
So that, yeah, so we have a number of CBOs, that high school districts have CBOs. Usually they support the after school programming, career connectedness opportunities.
Okay. Is it true that we're gonna get some mental health satellite clinics? I heard Point Morris School of Leadership is getting one, PS 277X is getting one in South Bronx Laboratory.
So only one will be in my school, but two are
So what are these mental health satellite schools gonna be? I mean, satellite programs actually gonna be doing in the schools?
Yeah, I haven't gotten a lot of information. I know the governor also mentioned that districts across the state this is something that she's looking to do. I went to that press conference, but I haven't.
And does our schools have any restorative justice coordinators?
So the coordinators they are citywide. So that comes out central. So we do have schools that will partner with those Bronx-based coordinators to support them.
And then the last one I say, we're talking about how children are moved sometimes. Our district has the highest ACS cases. So there's quite a few students who are in foster care, students who may be displaced and things of that nature. I don't know if the district has some special coordination you guys have when children are displaced and some of the work you guys are doing about those type of parents, right? Parents who need a lot of support. And I don't know if there's some, CBOs or organizations that can sort of like decrease maybe the need for reporting, depending obviously on the type of report, obviously. But I know attendance is a big thing and things of that nature. Usually a lack of attendance is a reflection of something going on in the home.
Yeah, so I can only speak to what we're doing. We were the first district that went to the ACS office and started to build a relationship with them. We wanted them, I wanted to know them. I wanted them to know the people on my team. I've actually, not that anyone told me to do this, I just figured it was important based on the numbers. We do have much higher data than other districts. I've assigned people where this is one of their primary responsibilities. So when a child goes into the shelter, I have a director that is right there who's already built a relationship with the director of the shelter. Can support families. I've gone to the shelters to support our families. This is like a all hands on deck because we know they're also they need the most. So that requires us to make sure we can be there, understand what their needs actually are, and then create that safer pathway to school.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Superintendent, for joining us today to talk about the state of education in the district. As you understand, under our former chair and our new chair and the district manager's office, how important the education system is and all of the education system is to this community board, especially as we grow. And some new conferences back, there were some drastic cuts that were announced that were very damning to the public education system. And recently, there was some money that was going to be allocated back into schools. How has that reallocation or increase in funding that's been promised back to be pumped into the public education system been helpful to your causes? And what, if any, or other areas that you hope that the administration and the community board members advocacy can help support some initiatives to help strengthen some of the areas that you are still looking to strengthen in the district?
So a couple things. We are actually in the midst of holding budget meetings right now. So from now to the end of the year, the budget director and myself and my executive director will be meeting with every principal to iron out what their budget looks like for next year. So that's just process. The mayor did restore funding cuts. Just to kind of give you a sense of what that looks like, I guess, is that because enrollment is driven by the amount of students you have, the city, and so they call it hold harmless. So I'm a school, say I have 500 students when COVID before COVID, and then after COVID, and now I'm down to 200 students. I know it sounds very drastic, but in some cases it's really not. Right? So a school lost 300 students. The city continued to fund that school at 500 students for the past 7 years. Now, what the public sees and often hears is that, oh my God, how could they cut? How are they going to cut these schools, and what programs are they going to offer? Well, I say that is true. It's also not a financially viable model to fund schools at 500 students when they only have 2. You can't sustain that model. Okay, that model costs billions and billions of dollars. So I do believe, I don't have anything to believe this. Outside of the last several years, they've been holding schools harmless, and there's this threat of schools losing funding, and then at the end of the year, when schools are in the red, that their loan is kind of forgiven, so to speak. I think that's going to eventually stop. And schools that have 200 kids will only get funding for 200 kids. And that is dramatically going to impact the school because they're so used to spending at the 500 mark.
Why is school spending at 500 mark?
Because they have
200. They have not.
They have the resources.
So they spend 500 to 200 kids. And so that means that's
So there is, because advocates will come out and schools need this, they need more of that. All true, right? I mean, granted, 70% of your kids are not reading on grade level. We need more resources. And so this allows schools to do some of these other programs that otherwise they may not be able to do. I'm just kind of looking at the financial cliff of this. And you should know I'm a natural optimist, right? That's just who I am. But there's a level of reality we have to accept as well. Now, someone could easily make the argument, well, maybe they're not funded at 500 students. They should be funded at 300 students because 200 at-risk students feel like 300, 400 students, the amount we need. So there's an argument for that. I'm just saying, I believe in the very near future, there's going to have to be a readjustment of how schools are funded. Now, that's a long way of answering your question. So just right now, they're not getting anything extra. They're getting what they were scheduled to get. They spent their money, and again, some schools were in the red because they didn't have the enrollment, and the city said, okay, we're going to wipe your debt clean, and you start fresh again next year.
What do you wish to see more resources allocated to help to continue to strengthen this expectation of what may happen? And this is not the administration has been. This is your experience telling you likely this may happen. So what do you hope that more resources be dedicated if you had opportunity to strengthen areas of your school besides what you showed us today? Short, and how can the community be helpful?
Yeah, thank you. So first is how we identify support and resources. Often people will look at that as only fiscal. And yes, there's a need for fiscal resources, but partnerships, idea exchange, in-kind supports, I think, are also needed, warranted. We're a high-need school district. I believe our children have the capacity to exceed at very high levels. But we also need the conditions and we need opportunities that haven't existed before. So if the resources in forms of grants, partnerships, the reason why I think that's important is, even partnering with the local bank to provide internships for students so that way they can get firsthand experience of what it's like to be a banker. It's something that is helpful to know before they pursue a career in it, to find out later it's not something they like. That's a support. That's a resource. So yes, we would welcome grants and lots of fiscal. That's always helpful, but there's other kinds.
I would end with this, but then we have an amazing policy administration and committee that meets often to haggle. I'll use that word with leaders in the legislative on all levels of legislative way to talk about where our priorities are. And you know, the community board discusses budget priorities. Often we go on and beyond that to discuss what we want in our community and not what legislators or others want to bring to our community, because we specifically understand what our community needs. And that's what's good about the work of this board. I know that, and I'll end with this, you have how many percent, what's the percentage of leadership principals, assistant principals are retiring out of your school this end of the school year? And what is your concern about leadership, that's experienced leadership leaving out of the school and having to either take other experienced leadership and put it where it is, or either reevaluate what put new principals with the difficult challenges you talk about that's going to be leading these institutions.
So I only have one retirement.
Congratulations.
But nevertheless, I mean, we're still building things.
Right.
So that way, when someone does decide to, enter into the next chapter of their life, we're not handcuffed. So we're actually training those individuals who want to step into principal roles and AP roles. We're working on that now.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
So just one more question, I don't know how much you work with this, given that you're primarily elementary, middle school, is vocational opportunities and exposure, meaning like, I'm a lawyer, so I'm gonna be a lawyer too, maybe, but how about like EMS, lifeguard opportunities? We're so understaffed in lifeguard, but no one knows how to swim. Things of that nature that are vocational, that doesn't really need college readiness, especially for a district like ourselves. A lot of our students may want to think about just graduating, trying to get some money before exploring college opportunities. I don't know if that's at all like introduced in middle school. You were talking about Baker, so I just threw it out there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, that kind of lives in the high school. They do have career technical education in high school this year, actually right up the street. We, however, are likely to have the very first middle school in the entire city to be part of the career connectedness pathway that will lead to some of that. So that's to be determined. It's new, and we'll have the first middle school.
There's just one last thing. I just want to make it's really a statement commentary, very short. Mr. Padilla, I want you to develop a network with this community board and let us know what you do, and let us know also what are I am a product of District 7. I went to school. I've lived here in this neighborhood all my life. When I was a kid, I remember some of even the businesses in our community coming around and giving us scholarships and encouraging us like that. I remember when the Yankees used to come around once a year and give us students not only tickets, but they also gave us scholarships and incentives to encourage us in the academics. Of course, times have changed. I graduated, maybe 40 years ago. I didn't have gray hairs all my life. But I remember a time when the kids, for example, if you were a District 7 kid, and Alexanders made sure they hired. See what I'm talking about? There was a network, and when your counselor signed that you did keep that B average, that you were a good student, the 5 and dime store, the McDonald's down the block, literally you were on vacation during the summer, and the district here on Portland Avenue, your office here, District 7 is right here on Portland Avenue, would make sure that they had our name to make sure that even during Christmas time, we would have a job. Okay, and that was back in the days when the businesses were working hand in hand with the Board of Ed, and that actually did happen once. Okay, I know times have changed, but kids are always going to be kids, and the need is always going to be there. Especially because we are talking about the youth. I try to look at the needs they have, even when they're not in school. Like, for example, look how many of the schools now give out lunches and breakfasts in the mornings, and now we have station schools where the kids can go to get something to eat, although they're not in school. And that was something that didn't always exist. I compliment those things because obviously, if they haven't been doing, even the initiative of some of the libraries have now opened up reading fairs during the summer. so that when they come back in September, they should have read some books and done some mathematics and everything. And those are some of the initiatives that I'm talking about. When we network, yes, I think our local library should have actually more programs. We fought with the mayor to make sure that those funds are coming in. Okay, our district here, District 1 has one Rock Haven library. There's a nearby one, Melrose, but it's been closed for a long time. But the fact is, we don't have enough libraries. You see what I'm talking about? I don't know, maybe one day, maybe the day's gonna come when we can open up extensive the libraries in the school.
Thank you, Ms.
So I know
Rodriguez.
Henry Gomez is on the board. You guys, I believe.
Yes. So I make that, yes.
So I'll make sure I connect with him or you and
Yeah.
hope to strengthen, continue to build. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you.
have one, there's one alum from your high school, the high school you talked about.
Oh, you wanna ask- okay, so I-
Who's the intern?
Okay, so I was gonna keep it to 45-minute presentation, but you can have the last one. You wanna ask a question? Okay.
So Bronx is on the church, is that? Not to mention, art, so I know there's some schools that, elementary schools, schools, high schools, that's.
I mean, we do have, most of our schools are elementary and middle school. And then we do have one high school.
What's your one high school? What's the high school?
Lab of Tech and Finance.
Okay. Thank you. All right, thank you. And next, ACS, I try to keep it to 45 minutes. Sorry, you guys are here, so it's not good. All right. Stephen's gonna set up her presentation and then we'll get set up. Does everyone have the ACS thing? So oh, New York City Design and Construction. Okay. Sorry. Yes, we got it. Oh, yeah.
That was good to hear.
I don't even have a card on it. Who is the ACS liaison person? Okay, I'm gonna give you.
Yes.
Yeah, because all right. Okay, you guys all gonna introduce yourselves?
Yeah.
Okay.
Am I in your way? No?
All right.
You're going to.
Oh, all right, I'll just let you guys rock and roll.
That was great. That was a great presentation.
I'm Anna.
Okay, so you guys are doing, okay.
We are coordinator at the Oak County, which they are presenting the Horizon Annex located at 560 Jordan Avenue.
And can you talk about everybody who's here for the record, please?
Yeah. My name is Anna Killian. Everybody, can you please introduce yourselves because I don't really know you.
Yeah.
Okay. It's okay.
So I'm Juan Corral with Grimshaw Architects.
Okay.
Stephen Pittman from Grimshaw Architects.
Yo-Yo Chen from Grimshaw Architect.
Okay.
Anyone else from the city agencies? Something for the record, please.
DDC, Elvis De La Cruz, Senior Project Manager.
Hi, Olanike Alabi, Director of Community Engagement, ACS.
That's Jim's right, Deputy Commissioner, Division Three, Government Justice, CCS.
See you again.
On seasonal chief operating officer and justice ACS. Paul Chana, director of government affairs ACS.
All right,
Thank you for having us. Very short, start the presentation and then at the end, obviously, we'll of course walk through the questions. And we are, we are a resolution.
Okay.
Thank you.
It's reminded that the process is it starts with committee and then it goes to the full board vote, which is scheduled for June 20th. Thank you.
Okay, so good evening, everybody. So I'm Juan Corral, the partner in charge of the Horizon Annex. I want to thank you for inviting us to the opportunity to present you today. I know Nancy and Constantine from SDS already presented to some of you the reasons why the annex.
Please speak up, because for record, the mic is low level, so you can talk out with your voice.
Okay.
Speak up on that.
Should I stand closer?
No, you can say that it's meant to you elevate your voice.
Okay. So Nancy and Constantine have spoken to some of you about the reasons why the annex is needed. However, it will uplift their ability to provide programming, education, capacity for the youth in their care and secure potential. As you can see, the annex will be on the current footprint of at Horizon Juvenile Center in the Bronx, which is 2 blocks down that way. And took the model, so if you're looking through the walls and things like that. We go to the next slide. So some of you may remember Grimshaw Architects from 2006 when we won the design competition for Via Verde, which is 1 block next block this way. And on the left is a photo we took last week from the roof of Horizon looking at Via Verde. And on the right is a view from the community room at the top of the tower of Via Verde, and you can see Horizon beyond the playing field and the sunway. I wanted to bring that up because I was part of the Via Verde competition team. It gave me a lot of satisfaction when we went back after 10 years of residents in the facility, and to hear what a strong community they have in that project, how much pride they have in their home, how they care for it. I'll share with you that Via Verde was conceived thinking about how to make the residents' daily lives better. And you will see that we're applying that kind of same thinking about how we make the youth and the staff at Horizon's daily lives better. Go to the next slide. So this is the site location, which is around the corner. Next slide. These are some aerials that show, Brook Avenue. On the west side is where the main entrance is to Horizon at the moment. Westchester Avenue to the north has the subway. On the south, we have Burger King, Water Zone, and the new 40th precinct of police when it's finished. And then on St. Anne's, it's the precinct in the corner and the police parking, the landscape parking lot. And the next. So this is a view of some of the, I'm going to show you some key views from around the facility. The elevated subway is really the only place where you'll see into the Horizon. When you're on the train, looking down the passenger floor and the plane is on the left. Next. One of the main views is from Brook Avenue, and East 149th Street here on the southwest corner, looking towards Burger King, and the police precinct is on the right. Next. So another key view is St. Anne's and Westchester. You can just see on the bottom, there's the elevated subway just above us. And we're looking at the parking lot for the police, and the Horizon is behind that. Next. So inside the Horizon, the annex project, as you can see in the model, will be built inside the current compound, starting with the sports building, which maybe today we'll find a name for. We've been calling it the elevated platform. I think it needs to name. And then continuing with the annex and ending at Westchester Avenue, where there will be a new staff only entrance to the facility. Next. So our design drivers that we want to share with you are, really integrating the building into the neighborhood with a new visual language, very different to the current Horizon, that showcases sustainability and greenery. Next. The annex is designed from the inside out, as I said. A moment ago, thinking about the daily lives of students and staff, providing a dignified, normative environment, balancing privacy, community security, and resembling as much as we can a regular apartment in a regular school. Next. And then the connection to nature and the outdoor spaces drives every decision, as we see next. So, it's a complicated slide, but like them all, and in fact, rotate this, it's same as what we're looking at. So it's the same as the so on the left is the sports building. It has basketball at grade, level 3, and then the running track at level 5. And that's going to be built first because the annex building is going to be taking away one of the sports fields that's currently there. So we're going to build the replacement sample facilities first, and then we use the arena rights to have access to that building while the rest of the project is being built. So this is okay, then in the
Is that 2 basketball court levels?
right, so grade, level 3, and then it's the track, level 5, peak, and then we'll take some of that. So then in the slide, you can see the 3 levels of sports. And in yellow are general classrooms, specialist art science classrooms, trade workshops. There's a heavy vocational component to education building. In blue, in the dark blue, there are 3 floors and 2 wings, 2 blocks, so 6 housing units, 8 units each, and levels 3, 4, and 5, connecting straight across to the school building. In purple on level 2 are the health and mental health clinic spaces, and then at ground floor in red, there's a large kitchen with 3 dining rooms and a sleep area. So that the youth can spend a little bit longer having their meals instead of having one dining facility. And then in brown is the staff areas, the new entrance of Westchester. So it's trying to take care of youth and take care of the staff.
Okay. 6. Tell me about the bedrooms again. 6.
Right, so there are 3 floors of bedrooms, 3, 4, 5. On each side there are 8 kids, and so there's 6 times 8 kids. And then in the health facility, 2, there's another 10 rooms for kids who need mental health attention.
Mental or
Okay, so if we go to the next slide. This slide speaks to the phasing of the construction. So on the top left is the current situation with this orientation. And you can see right now there are 3 trailers on the left, so they will be gone. And instead, at the bottom left, they're building elevated sports building, 3 level sports building. That goes first. Then once that's built, continue with the annex in the top right. And once that's built, then we finish the activate playing field.
What's in the trailers now?
Lockers, staff lockers, and other staff facilities, which will be permanently replaced. So if we go to the next slide. This is what I hand off to you.
Yes. So on the left-hand side show the precision site plan. And then as you see now, the new building will have the new elevated sports platform and then the annex and plus an upgrade sports field. That'll be the 3 new elements added to the project. Next page, please. I'm going to walk you through the ground floor. At the Westchester, there will be a garden entrance at this corner for the staff to enter the building to the brown area for the staff facilities. And then we also have 2 big vocational classrooms on the ground floor, colored in yellow, and the kitchen dining facilities at the ground floor. And then with the elevated platform, we have the upgrade basketball court on the ground floor. So this is a level 1, and we are moving up to level 2. Well, level 2 is all, next page please. And level 2 is all about healthcare facility services for the youth. And then next page please, from level 3 and up. So 3, 4, 5 is a housing unit, as you see, colored in blue, and then the vocational and education program in yellow. And then next up to the roof, next page. Up to the roof, we have the mechanical space color in blue, and then the horticulture area for the youth in green on the plan. Next page. And then this is just want to share about the proposed exterior material palette. We have the wood screening where privacy required, have security glass, security mesh screens, photovoltaic on the roof for the canopy, and the integrated photovoltaic panel to the solid facade to generate more renewable energy. And plus, the greeneries to enhance the experience. And we are going to see this in the following renderings. Next page, please. And then this is the Brook Avenue view and the East 149 looking at northwest. So you see the elevated sports platform and foreground next to the police precinct, and then the annex building right behind the center, right behind the Burger King signage. Next page. Next page is another view from the Westchester Avenue and the St. Anne's Avenue, looking southwest. So we see the police parking at foreground, and then with the annex building and the center. And then you can see the photovoltaic canopy on the roof of the annex building. And we have the wood screening with greenery to provide privacy for the housing unit. Next page. Next page is a view from the elevated subway line. And then you see the sports field at the foreground. And at the right-hand side, see the garden entrance with staff, the annex housing. Right in the center is in the center is the vocational and the education building. And with the elevated sports platform in the center at the back.
So I'm so sorry. I don't know. Please correct me if I'm wrong. Isn't there barbed wires currently around?
Currently around, yeah.
Is there going to be barbed wires around this as well? There's
So-
one in the picture.
Currently, our intention is no. That we can design it, that's the aim. And we're working with ACS, ACSF, ACC, the oversight agencies to try and provide the right fencing and the right security that doesn't need that barbed wire look. So that's what we're going to achieve.
Right, next page. And then it's just a few shots of the interior. Every bedroom has a big window with views to the sky and greenery. And then the next page. At the heart of the housing hall is this kind of lounge area, has direct connection to the outdoor recreational active patio and also a mobile patio. Again, with a lot of views into the daylight and greenery. Next page. And each of the classroom have ample of the windows for the daylight and the views. Next page, please. And then this is the three new dining halls to allow the youth able to spend a bit more time to enjoy their meals every day with outdoor space with each of the dining room. And then the weather allowed, they can use that and get some fresh air. Next page. Next page is our landscape architect has selected preliminary plan selections, and she is in the process to integrate this into the design in a way that minimize the maintenance requirement, but at the same time looks beautiful. And next page. This is shared about the project schedule. As for the mid-2024, we are about to complete our schematic design, and right after that, the elevated sport platform, the schedule on the top you will see is accelerated and plan to start construction in the coming fall.
So fall of 2024.
Fall of 2024.
Yeah, this year. Fall 2024. And then the all annex project will be completed by 2029. So the overall project, that's the inherent And last one, this is our key contact information, and please let us know if you have any questions.
Madam Chair, before we move forward, Deputy, will you refresh your memory for those who did not attend the meeting of the commission of what led us here to this meeting expansion? Yeah.
So we had an increase in the number of people who are in custody. And because we are required by state regulation for each young person to have his or her own room, we need additional space to safely house our young people. We also, the facilities, both this and Crossroads in Brooklyn, were built many years ago for a younger population whose length of stay was much shorter than our current population. And since Raise the Age, we are now housing almost entirely young people who would have been on Rikers Island. They are young adults who have larger classrooms. We currently do not have vocational spaces, training spaces for them, and this new design would allow for us to have age-appropriate spaces for the young people we have with us.
What are the ages again to this facility? I think you chair for that currently populates. And what is expected to populate?
So our youngest right now is 15, and our oldest is 20. The range, the potential range really is between 13 and 20. For the most part, the majority of our young people are between the ages of 16 and 19.
And you are at full capacity right now.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
First of all, that was going to be my question. The amount of people who will be housing in this new facility, and if we're going to be rooming them separately, because in the old house there's a lot of problems, many problems you'll have over there with those kids that was housed in that facility. I'm glad that you know trying to expand it because they were kids too. As a foster parent, I had kids that went there also, and so I know what went on inside, and I know what went on the outside also because the staff there used to pray before they even went inside. That's how afraid they were. So, what they doing about that now?
So we've been working very, very hard on improving our security measures. Safety has been our foremost priority since this administration, since we came in. We've seen, in the last year, we've seen an increase in population of 35% and a decrease in our violence indicators of over 30%. So we have, in the last 2 months, we've had our school attendance has been over 90% in Horizon. We've made a big push to really make sure that our young people are either attending high school classes or engaged in GED. We just had a meeting today with CUNY. We're hoping to roll out college classes in the fall in both facilities, where we now have workforce programming that is in the facility so young people can learn vocational skills and attain certifications so that when they're ready to re-enter the community, they have the skills that they need to be employable.
So how will you be able to control it?
So we've been working very, very hard on that. We are a counseling model, so our staff is trained and supported in working with our young people so that they can modify their behaviors. We have a behavior modification system where young people can earn incentives when they follow the rules and they lose incentives when they don't. That is a motivator for young people because they want to participate in special events that we have for young people who are on level. There are better snacks for young people who are on level. Young people are fatigued, so that is a good motivator. And we've expanded our relationship with Carnegie Hall. We recently had a concert for the young people and the staff. And we're trying to expand age-appropriate, engaging programming for our young people. The more programming that we have, the more engaged the young people are, the fewer behavioral issues we see.
Are you taking people, are you accepting people from Rikers Island into this program? Or this is basically to keep them out of Rikers Island?
So when Raise the Age first happened, all of the 16 and 17-year-olds were transferred from Rikers Island to Horizon, but all of those young people have aged out, and now all the young people coming to both here and Crossroads are sent by the court. So we have almost no young people who have ever been on Rikers. Part of raising the age, the point of raising the age was for young people to be in adolescent facilities that have age appropriate staff and programming and schooling so that they wouldn't be in adults.
You accepting people from islands of state to this program?
So we don't necessarily accept young people. If a young person is charged with a crime, either in criminal, Supreme Court, or family court, and the court orders that person to be held either on bail or remanded, then they come to our facility. But a young person who might be living in a cottage, like in a foster care setting, if they're not being charged with committing a crime or what would be a crime if they're under a certain age, they would not come to these facilities.
So for, actually, just one quick question. Currently, it says the capacity on the OCF site, capacity at Horizon is 121 people. Is that a correct number?
Yes.
It is. And then, so the expansion is to increase it to what number capacity wise?
Well, all right, let me just explain this a little bit. OCFS has granted us additional ability they've granted us a waiver so that if our numbers exceed the number of bedrooms that we have, we can sleep young people in the kind of like outside of the bedrooms. So some of them are sleeping either in the day areas, common areas of the housing units, and sometimes the classrooms at bedtime, not during school hours. So that additional number that gets us to 131 includes young people outside of bedrooms. Our intent is once we have these additional 48 beds, that every young person will be sleeping in a bedroom.
Okay, so what I'm missing is how many beds do you currently have? Yeah, because you said additional 48. I understood that. So additional 48, what is the current bed? So I can understand that. How many total beds are you guys gonna have?
And I'm almost positive we're at 121.
So you have 121 beds, bedrooms. Okay, so that means the waiver just got me 10 other people to one person, right? And they should.
Right. The waiver allows us to sleep young people outside of bedrooms.
So 121 current bedrooms, you're gonna get 48 extra bedrooms. Is that correct? Okay. Thank you for understanding.
Plus the house.
Yes.
And that's one person per bedroom.
Correct. Okay, so 160. My dad's a middle school math teacher, but I think I can do that, so I think it's 160. The goal is 169 beds. Okay, just wanted to. At Capacity.
The ultimate goal is not to get.
Well, that's
our goal. I mean, ultimately, the goal, because this facility is going to be much more age appropriate, is if we could drop our numbers to have more of the young people living in the new facility.
So I was gonna ask, 2029 feels far, I know time flies, but it feels far. So I wanted to know, when is the sports center, multi-flex sports center, when is that goal for accomplishment?
So to go back, and that's the timeline.
SD, is that sport?
No, and the top is the sports building, the top line and construction is scheduled to start this year, and it has the year or so.
January 26th.
Yeah.
January 26th will be completed and we're in the platform.
Okay, so what is, can you just kind of give us an example of what the disruption is gonna look like in the meantime? Like, as construction's happening, people are still gonna be living there, so what is that, how's that gonna impede?
So currently, there's an outdoor field, there's an outdoor basketball court, and these are three trainers. So the construction entrance has just all this area from the construction site. Outdoor basketball court, outdoor basketball inside the gym. So then the first phase is to build schools, 3 level schools, trainers up. Close off the construction site, and kids access that from here. And there's start. So it is a good stuff. Some outdoor space.
And keep working with a construction management firm on this project. So the goal will be to all work collaboratively to ensure that as little disruption as possible. There's what's happening, but to ensure that the experience for youth is as level as possible. We had some early drilling, boring, to test soil, and that was fairly quiet and we don't know everything. So we're hopeful, we know that it's going to be a challenge, but
Right now, are there sometimes students at the basketball field and students at the in the open field? Like, is people gonna lose outside time? Because I believe you cannot put 131 people outside at the same time. So is people gonna lose like outdoor time? I know that's what they do.
Well, there's an interior courtyard that we use a lot, and so the young people will continue to use the interior courtyard. They generally, we will not put more, there generally is not more than one hall of young people, residential hall, outside of the main yard at one time anyway. So it will probably not result in a disruption of our schedule. We use those two outdoor areas now, the basketball court and the courtyard, and that will.
Yes.
What about, the young folks that are living outside of the How would they do?
So we actually haven't had any youth living outside of the bedrooms since November until last night. And left. So tonight we should have none. They won't be affected any differently than any other young person in the facility. Life will go on in the facility as they're building this building in the rear of the facility.
So you're saying that people living out, kids living outside of the bedroom are only there temporarily, like for short term,
Yes.
to find another place there for them or something? That's what you're saying?
Or unless a bedroom, until a bedroom frees up, and then they go into a bedroom. It's a detention facility, so young people are coming and going. Some percentage of the young people are coming and going with regularity, so if they go to court, the court places them in a different place or sends them home, then a bedroom will be made available, and a young person who may not have a bedroom will enter that bedroom space.
When they stay outside of the school, where exactly do they enter outside?
So there are two options that we've been using. There's the bedrooms, the residential halls are like, they're kind of like a circle, and the bedrooms are on the exterior, on the perimeter of the circle. And there's a main living area in the middle, where the kids do programs and spend their time together. They can sleep in that area when the other young people are in their bedrooms, or they might be taken to a classroom in the school area in the evening. They'll sleep there, then they'll wake up the same time as all the other young people in the facility and shower and program, get dressed on a residential hall with the hall they're assigned to.
They have a temporary bed and bedding that's provided.
Yeah, they're like plastic shells, and a mattress sits in that plastic shell, and they have full bedding and toiletries and everything else that every other room is.
I have a question in regards to construction. So what are the construction time frame? Like during the day, or is it, 24 hours, or what are the?
Usually we always start at 7 o'clock and will be completed by 3 p.m.
7 a.m. to 3 p.m.
Yes.
7 days a week?
No, 5 days a week. Less we want to celebrate the project. We want to make sure that it's 6 days, but we will ask permission and we will ask DOB for work after work permits. It's required.
Were there other locations that you guys considered before decided on this location? What's that that you did with other locations?
Well, we have two facilities. We have this facility.
Don't say the land, both the building and there, the place that you guys consider on this land.
Right, so we considered building at Crossroads, but the space is not as efficient. There isn't enough space in the same way that there is here, and so that's why this was chosen. So what do you think?
No.
While you're constructing the mental health and physical facility, what will be the ultimate goal? Are you guys gonna move your equipment somewhere else? Like, what would be the option?
So we have a mental health clinic now, we have a clinic on site in the current building. And Floating Hospital provides our medical services, and there's a medical clinic currently. So everyone will remain in place until the new building is usable. So nothing's going to move as far as serving our current population until the building is complete and the young people at both of those clinics will move to the new
Okay, so, oh, well, let me ask my question. Number one, I want to say is there any renovation going to happen to the old building? I know you're saying a new building, but what is happening to the old building?
No renovation.
No renovations. So that means the current barbed wires will stay. The question is, are you guys going to add to wrap around? Is that?
Well, the entire perimeter has barbed wire, and there's no plan at this point to remove that.
Okay.
The perimeter stays kind of the same. Anything that comes down to it.
Okay. And then, because you guys are going to have the health facilities moved to the new building, that means you guys are going to have additional extra space in the old building. Is that correct?
It's unclear how we're going to plan that. We're going to have to see how many young people we have with us at that time.
So you could potentially use the old medical room as a bedroom.
No, that's unlikely.
Okay.
So if we have, it's a little bit unclear. We're gonna have to plan that with our medical provider and the mental health provider, depending on who the population is at the time. I just think it's premature to do that.
All right. Any questions from the public? Okay. Yes. I like.
Who has a question from you, please, today? Identify yourself.
Hi, I'm Ashley Nani. I'm a dance instructor for the Board of Education. I've been teaching dance for 10 years. I live in the Bronx. I know exactly what it is to be in a community trying to chase your dream and figure things out. My question for you is, what programs you have for athletes? Where can they do? Where can they go for jobs? How to fill out resumes? For instance, with my program I work for, we actually going to do dance class at Rikers Island, and I feel like when I dance and go through something personal, I get released. It's just like playing basketball, so that could be something you guys can think about. But again, what programs do you have for when you leave, when you get out of here? Because when they come into the streets, they're gonna see weed dispensaries, they're gonna see the guys on the corner, they're gonna see people fighting, they're gonna see, all the negative things from garbage to just everything that goes on to the Bronx. So what do you have for them what programs do you have for them when they leave you guys? Is the question. Thank you.
So it's nice to meet you, and I'd love to talk to you about your program, because we're always looking for new programming for our young people. ACS actually is not responsible for the programming that happens in the communities post-release, but we do have many relationships with programs that do run all types of services for our young people. We have a case management unit that makes referrals for young people. We have pure violence providers that work in the facilities who work with our young people on that transition back to the community, and many of our young people continue with pure violence, with the pure violence providers when they leave. Because we are now implementing workforce development, where those programs are making referrals for continuity's sake, if they're involved in a certain type of vocational program, to locate those programs in the communities. We have a school on site, a District 79 school on site, and they have transitional counselors who refer the young people to schools. They enroll them before they leave so that they have an assigned seat in school when they leave our facilities. And as we develop our relationship with the community, we are hopeful that we'll have more young people continuing in college once they leave.
Yes, Mr. Kennedy.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Commissioner, Deputy, when the Commissioner came to originally speak to this program about this need to expand, we asked for more information on preventive for young people going to the drug. We have not yet received that information, so I appreciate if you could let the Commissioner's policies about where we do preventive services where young people, foreign children, likely go through child welfare. We want to talk about preventive measures that specifically speaks to hopefully our young people making better choices in going to the juvenile facilities. I was part of a younger group a long time ago that talked about the preventing this actual facility being built in this community directly across the street from a public school where young people look at state of the art everything. Now this is going to be hyper state of the art facilities that like to look into where we have the young people who are living in horrific natural conditions along with other issues that are happening in the community. So we asked for what is the actual preventive investment that the Administration for Children's Services is making on juvenile detention prevention efforts and community work one. So we can keep what you said earlier in this conversation where we want to keep young people from returning or even going into these facilities. That is a mission of this board, and we want to join you in that effort and making sure that some people comply with that. That will be helpful. For EDC, I want to talk about construction issues. We have the community board, unfortunately, has been inheritors poor actors when construction is happening. When there are schedules for facilities like this, we are, like for example, we have a recreation statistic is 7 years to be completed. This is by not a DDC project, but when scheduling for construction like this to happen usually does never takes place on a timetable that we first hear in meetings like this. So we are concerned about what efforts the DDC taking to ensure that you keep strictly as much as possible time that we understand there's some unforeseen things that may happen and that is inherited with the testing of the soil, with environmental studies, with how much schools cost when we first started to develop the project, what they're going to cost during the duration of this. What is DDC doing to ensure that this community does not become another victim of that history when construction projects do not happen in the timeline? Even though this is whatever this project is necessity according to the city, what are you doing to make sure that we operate on the timetable from start to completion of projects like this happening in the district?
So one of the things we'll be tracking the time, the budget, and the schedule. So since this is a major declaration, we need to be on top of it. So we'll always do progress reports. We'll be updating the community if it's needed. But since one of the things I work on Rikers Island, and we completed the schedule that we had there a few years ago, that was a merchant declaration. Well, this merchant declaration, we always work fast. It's a fast track project, so everything goes very quick.
Would the administration be a fan of sharing environmental? What I know they said there'll be some topsoil environmental testing is done. What those results are, so we know that unfortunately, our young people are they're going to be housing them in a safe, uncontaminated environment, and then when that agree to quarterly update the board on the progress of this project going forward. Sure.
Okay, I wanted to just, first of all, thank you. Okay, thank you about saying this emergency declaration. I didn't know about that because maybe that's why St. Mary's is the way it is. Flooding and things of that nature sometimes really delays construction. And that's what we were hearing about St. Mary's Park, which is obviously not too far from the facility. So thank you for telling me about the emergency declaration. So I do also want to follow up about the tour. We were offered a tour, but it's never happened of the current facility. And obviously, we will get a tour in 2029 of when that facility completes, but that tour has never happened. I do understand that you guys did tell us that preventive or alternative to being sent to Horizon is really Department of Probation with their services. But I also know that the commissioner talked about potential. I might be using house arrest, but I might be using that wrong. But that there were things within his power outside of Department of Probation that could be preventative measures in keeping that number as low as possible, which is your ultimate goal. But we didn't get any dates in. Obviously, there's no probation, so I just wanted to tack that onto the things about that. And those are just my two things. Wait, also, I wanted to ask you, I think the design you guys are creating is beautiful. I think Via Verde is beautiful. So I'm very confident that you guys are going to design something that is as beautiful as it is replicated here in front of us and in front of the pictures. I do think it is important for it to look integrated into our community, so we don't look like a community that has jails and huge police stations all over the South Bronx. But what I do want to say to HCS is the necessity for barbed wires. That, regardless of how beautiful a building is, if it is surrounded by barbed wires, it does look like something dangerous is happening inside, and we are scared for whatever dangerous is inside is going to come out. And it is not at all pleasing, regardless of how beautiful the building is that it's surrounded. So I just wanted to, I don't know if you guys have some issues of people escaping. I don't know, is it in our regs that all correctional facilities must be surrounded by barbed wires? I don't read the regs in that area, but get into regs sometimes with the CP. So what are the chances of barbed wires alternative to, I don't know, it's 2024, I don't know if there's prettier things that don't look like these rings, pokey things around them?
So those decisions are actually made by the state commission on correction, not us. So if they require it, we need to comply.
But we don't know if they require it.
Well, they require what we have now.
Okay, they do.
May I just ask a small question? You rang a bell, and I wonder, I see they build, there's a track field, basketball court. Have you thought of maybe making a dance studio in there? So that when you bring instructors because psychologists have shown that dancing is very therapeutic, especially for youth. Music and dance, I think, should be part of all your art programs. It would be very, especially movement programs like what you're doing, has been shown to be very therapeutic. Especially, so have you thought of actually putting in an official dance team in this facility?
So we do have an arts continuum. We have many programs that are available to our young people. Part of the goal of this project is to expand our program space. We probably will not have enough space to have a single use type of room, but in the same way that we do now, we have program areas that we use for dance, that we use for music. Carnegie Hall comes into our classrooms and has music. Flex Dance has been in our facilities. They teach in our gym. So almost all of our spaces are multi-purpose, and these spaces will just be larger and will give us more ability to do the type of programming that you're talking about and expand it.
All right, we're going to have you be our last week. Stephanie, you have the pressing project, so we'll have you be the last question.
What is the possibility of having a young folks contribute to the construction? Because I know you said that they have some school and OSHA so they have the journey. So what if they can add that practical skills to some of their learning? And same thing with the plan. I see there's a couple of plans you're thinking of having there, teaching them about that, how to care for those things, a potential garden.
Yes, so a really big focus of this design is to have the young people be able to interact with those spaces and have spaces for horticultural programming. And they referred to that earlier. There's going to be space on the roof where there will be space for the young people to garden. And we now have the Horticultural Society. It runs a program in Horizon with our young people that are planting different plants and vegetables in our courtyard, and give me your contact information. We will arrange a tour. Really whatever you want. So as far as taking part in the actual construction of the facility, we would not be allowed to do that. But the architects and the design team did come in and they met with our young people to get their feedback into design ideas. And so we're trying to incorporate the young people's ideas and needs as much as we can as this project moves forward.
Madam Chair, if I may, Deputy or either the EDC, can you please give a total cost and then phase by phase cost on this project?
Right now, I can give you a total cost would be 340 million.
So we asked, we did it, and this is not, Commissioner, understand that we understand that you do, and some of you all have done this for a career, that it is, I worked in job worker for a little while, and I know that there's an amazing to be working with and someone you dedicating your life, skill from your community, so that you understand that you have a job to do. So, we asked, when we did the conference with the commissioner earlier, we asked him to do a cost assessment from prevention amounts of money versus the cost for a facility like this. So if in that analysis that you're going to provide, or what else the preventive services are out there, can you please also provide analysis of how much investment cost-wise is thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Commissioner.
Any further questions?
Just so you know,
Okay, sorry.
in our continuum, which is just the Division of Youth and Family Justice,
Sure.
which does not include
The
the
entire
preventive continuum and the rest of the agency, we're spending $46.5 million on preventive. That also does not include what DRCD spends, the DOE, all of the other agencies that are providing what would qualify as preventive services.
I wonder, what is I know there's like every correctional there's long stay, but what is the average stay at, at either one of these facilities at this point, right? Because the court chief's put a bed.
If you bear with me for just
We
a moment.
just got this number today, so I think actually it was accurate. No, 171 days.
That does exclude,
That is the average person is staying 171 days.
That's the average. Well, we don't have any young people on low-level homes. So, because youth justice was essentially decarcerated in New York City, the only young people who are being held are young people with very serious violent felonies.
All right. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
All your stuff, we're back into it.
Okay, thank you. We'll take the vote after you guys have a leave, just to have some final discussions. I also want to state that the final vote happens at our full board meeting on June 20th. So it just leaves committee and then goes to full board, and then we will have a letter.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You're still in the mold, right? Thank you, Commissioner.
Nice to meet you. Okay. Thank you. Thank you all.
Good to see you again, ma'am. Do well. I'll go as well. So thank you.
Okay.
Thank you again, Commissioner. Thank you.
See you again.
Good to see you again.
Nice meeting you
Yes.
again. And I don't know how many meetings there's gonna need to be, but hopefully. I
Get used to it.
I know.
Thanks for having us.
Bye. Bye. Yeah, bye.
Take care. All the best. All right. Yeah, sure.
Oh, great. Oh, good luck. Yeah, yes. I'm sorry.
Well, you will. Yeah, sure.
Cheers.
Yes. Yeah, sure. Steve will definitely.
Yeah. We got a vote on this thing, but it was good. I think we have quorum. Oh, you don't have it. How many people we don't, how much?
Yes.
Did you guys sign?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, okay. So yeah, I think those are best.
That's a good program. Are you fans?
Yes, I am.
Very good.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, we only have
This is
two.
good. This is amazing. I'm glad I came.
We have a lot more.
Yeah, this was good.
So what is it?
Yeah, we took
About that.
That's what the workshop she works for, provides, Fortune Society. Yes, Fortune, the one that's actually kind of on our lap.
Right. So the committee has a budget to do. So you can discuss with this, right?
Okay.
We're gonna discuss what we had.
Okay, so, okay, you guys,
We don't gotta vote, right?
no,
We can go to the call.
Yeah, you can.
I'll be right back.
Bye. All right, you guys, so we don't, there's a lot of, yes.
Yes.
There's a lot, yeah, there's a lot of voting members, there's a lot of committee board members, but they are not in the committee, so we technically do not have quorum. However, I think it's best that we discuss this, because you guys do the full board meetings so long. So, do we have any concerns, stipulations, things of that nature?
Well, that's not a place that you could go to show, that's actually a.
Well, I mean, there's gonna be, clearly, the old building is being untouched, right?
And there's still barbed wire.
And there's gonna be barbed wires around, and it's 2024, their aspirational goal is 2029. Hopefully it is not full, and obviously in 2029, we may have a brand new mayor, we may have a brand new Michigan, we may have a brand new city. So, I don't know how full it's gonna be. I think it should be nice, you guys, I'm very, very concerned. Well, it's supposed to look like Via Verde.
It's not bad, the thing is just the money that they spend on the design, they could be actually using that money to probably build more rooms, so they don't have to share these items.
Well, so what happened is that when they did the raise the age, which is definitely did, I couldn't believe we represented 16-year-olds to Rikers, it came with this money. So that's why we didn't have to vote on the money. We were voting because of construction happening, but the 340 was already given to them when Albany was like, we moving all these people from Rikers to you guys. Yeah, I need some money. So, I mean, it's already for them to use technically. So, if this was a budget approval letter, I would have went ham. Just really would have been like, absolutely not. But because the money's already designated, we do have people in the hallway. So you guys were at the last meeting, I don't know if you were, but I spoke to Legal Aid, who represents children. I spoke to Bronx, who represents children. It is chaotic right now at Horizon. It is chaotic. There's too many people. They out here, they like to water it down, but like, it's a big problem. If you're gonna be there, you need to be in a humane space. And I've always had an issue. I understand we gotta take people out of the community because you do too much. But we don't have to torture you when you're in there. You see what I mean?
And especially with the very young.
Yes, it was like, you can imagine if everybody got a bump and yours got to be rolled out in the middle of the day. Where you even? Yeah, like these are humans, exactly. So there's a whole, yeah. Oh, so there's like, so we want to make sure that is happening. I would love no barbed wires. I think someone needs to think about barbed wires. Because I just, listen, if I could walk by and not even know it was a prison, you know what I mean? It would be nicer for my community. Because now we have the huge police precinct and then Horizon right next to each other. It kind of feels like a police state corner. You see what I mean? Just like a huge corner. The only thing nice is gonna be the parks and areas across the street, but it's like a corner of like police and state systems. But anyways, that's how I'm feeling going.
Oh, so I just want to understand this. They're not building on top of the current location. They're building in their in a new
It's not a new
right
location.
outside. It's
It's-
like right outside.
So they have a courtyard. It's like they have a courtyard. I mean, not a courtyard. It's a huge field,
Yeah.
and they're gonna remove the field and build on the field. But the field is already within. You know, it's like a school with
Oh,
a.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
So the field is their field that right now people are just kicking balls, whatever, and they're gonna replace that with a building. And in order to replace the field, they're giving them this like garage duplex thing. See what I mean? But the field is within their boundaries.
And they're gonna put their mental health like out in
Right,
that
they're-
building and then leave.
No, that's a separate building.
No, it's the same building.
Same building.
It's the same building, different floor.
So, right, so what he's asking you to put it in the same building, put a field in, yes.
So
But
they're
it-
moving it
Oh,
into that field
Yeah.
while leaving that other spot.
Exactly. So I was asking them, because you guys 169 beds. Because I was saying this at the last meeting, if you build, they will come. They will find a way to fill those beds, right? So I'm very concerned about that. And then, like you said, if they're moving the medical unit to the new building, okay, which is there, what are you gonna do in the old medical center? She didn't have no answers. They're gonna make it a better than I feel. But we don't know. Like they don't get to decide. We want violence. They don't get to decide that, right? The courts does that. But the chair, Simpson, we were all at this meeting and we were asking them, what alternatives are you using? Because a lot of the attorneys were saying they were not giving alternatives. Like judges would be like, okay, we'll let the person out. But when you are released as a juvenile with a felony, and that felony can be something bad, like attempted murder, or it could be gun possession and things of that nature, like there's levels to felonies. They didn't have probation they didn't have no probation organizations. So you need to have what we call intense security supervision, and they don't have enough nonprofits who do that right now. Why don't they have enough? Because they don't have enough money for those profit organizations. Yeah, so they don't have enough money.
What are they really doing
I know.
to manage the behavior?
Oh, I
You know what I'm saying?
There's
Because those
violence.
little programs that you're talking about, these kids that's out here doing violent things. I want you to do dancing today, and I want you to do,
Yes.
you know, gardening and whatever.
And that's not what trains these youngsters.
So I do want to know what they said that they use this behavior model. You guys, as you guys heard, that was also reported to us. However, I really would love more social workers to be just hired, therapists to be hired, psychiatric nurses with psychiatric experience to be hired. You know, on the subway, they're like people at Rikers, CEOs at Rikers are making $85,000. You can get a nurse for $85,000. You can get a social worker for less than $85,000.
Social work.
Well, what would you envision, Ms. Simpson?
They should
You
have
can't-
behavior modification therapists and more pediatric psychologists. And that's what they're not doing.
Because I can tell you, Kirby is the jail for severely mentally ill people. Kirby only has nurses practically, they don't have COs, it's just straight medical staff because it's a hospital. And the lawyers there have said it's a pretty subdued place. When nurses see someone behaviorally act up, it's not like a whole bunch of COs attack you. It's the nurse who comes and, I don't know if you need medicine or whatever, but it's a different experience you can imagine because you're coming from the fact that I know your diagnosis, I know what medication you're on, I know like everything about you. It's just a tool. So that's something we can talk about as staffing. That would be a different meeting. But I guess the resolution is that they have to build something. It's, you guys, 2029, we know it's not gonna happen. And then we can continue to engage with, when you build a larger space, if you have a larger population, you need more staff, what that staff is gonna look like. So we could always put a letter to court that talks about, this board would like to talk about staffing that is more medically appropriate, less blah, blah, blah. We could add some of that language. But in the meantime, we have an issue with the facility. This is what they all came
How
out with.
sturdy is the facility? child because the kids destroyed that facility.
Well, I mean, yeah, they're not gonna punch a hole in the wall. They might break a door or something. We could put a door back on the
Well,
hinge.
some of these kids
No.
get very vicious.
Exactly. My word, they say.
Yeah, but they're not gonna.
You think not?
They're gonna break something.
No, but some of these kids are capable of doing it. If their only alternative is in behavior modification to starve a child, or to,
No,
or to do that. Listen, I'm talking about what they were saying.
Yeah, no.
They were saying,
Right?
get
Like I take a food out,
close
we can go to the
attention.
restaurant.
You're talking about taking
Okay.
away from a kid. I'm sorry to say, I'm totally against that.
Okay, I hear you.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
But if you don't control the behavior,
Okay, so I hear a lot of conversation about behavior issues and behavior insensitive. I hear about what we want for staffing purposes and how safety should be created, focusing on staff. But,
We said it is about design.
yes, the design, the facility. Do we have an issue about the facility?
There should be more recreation.
More recreational rooms. That's good. That's an actual thing.
To not share, because it's taken away from other times that other people actually working, especially if you're trying to have a location where there's gonna be 169. There should just be one room for everything, right?
So I guess we really need to know how many recreationals are gonna be, and then
And something that is disturbing, I don't think there should be any beds outside. I think everybody
So,
should get their own room.
And I feel like.
So number one, the goal is never to have a bed outside. We should
No.
exactly.
Exactly.
That's almost definitely.
Huh?
I mean, maybe to not have one, but they should have a room for that. They should build a room where there's none.
And I think that's what that old maybe nurse unit might be utilized for.
Yes.
So I think they might have overflow rooms when the new building moves some stuff outside of the old building. So I think there's gonna be an overflow room, but we gotta repeat the idea of overflow. Like we don't need more kids there.
So she said that didn't fix it.
Go ahead.
I do
you
want
ask that
I
question.
do want to ask, is it possible to have another health facility, not just one?
Like
Because
two.
yeah, keeping that,
I think there are two.
No, there's
There has to be
there's an old one and a new one.
The new building has
They
two
weren't
sections,
using the
Two what?
old
two
one.
medical facilities. Look at.
oh, they're gonna move into the, that's, maybe I'm,
There should be 5 at least.
Two.
because 50 kids.
So what is it? The building has three sides.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean, like,
It looks like
practice.
two sides.
You see what I mean?
Three, it looks like three.
Exactly.
Vertical campus. You have vertical campus. You have
See, medical.
can you pass this down for please, Mrs.
Okay, so I just want to make sure we have a running list of questions, because if we step through the presentation and we're gonna have questions, you can only imagine the rest of the committee board who did not sit through that. So we really want to know confirmation on how many rec rooms, we're gonna know confirmation.
How many
How
actual
many age?
programs they have?
Vertical
Not five.
compass shows that there's a racetrack and there are 2 gyms.
There's 2 basketball courts. I know
2 basketball courts and a
Basketball
racetrack.
Yeah, we know.
And how much,
Recreation
so how many
We're talking about health facility.
Health facilities are 2.
And when you said a rec facility, you mean where they can do outdoor
Or
sports?
like where they're gonna do like arts and crafts,
Or
like
space
people who
rooms.
don't do sports, there's some kids that don't.
Yeah, I guess the flex rooms, what they were calling the indoor rooms,
Like
they're
a
flex
indoor
rooms.
or like there.
There's a wait, it was
That's what I was.
youth education.
Okay, I'm so
training
sorry.
center.
Go ahead. Are you okay? District manager, will review that. I'm sorry, Stephen. I never got to you. Sorry.
So I saw that it's gonna be 2 basketball courts, why there has to be 2, why not just dedicate one level and then the other level being something else? That's what I'm saying, because it-
There should be a
There's more
need.
beds, there's more people, so there may be
Yeah.
So
more
let's-
Then
recreation.
the boys can be together, a lot of boys can be together, so that's
But
why.
because there's an outdoor basketball court, I'm just thinking.
No, they're getting rid of that.
Did they go to bed?
Yeah. So
Wait,
that's
wait, wait. So they're gonna have basketball courts.
Inside.
no. They're gonna have that 3 center.
Like right there, only in.
No, just what you saw. But he's talking about the outside basketball court that sits by itself is going to disappear and be replaced with the tier outdoor thing.
Oh, it's gonna be out for it.
Yes. So imagine like a parking garage.
Oh, okay.
Yes, it's gonna feel more like a parking garage. Yeah.
I don't know, I just feel like there's one of like basically everything, but basketball courts didn't.
So the reason why I think basketball court, and I think we can ask about that. I'm assuming when they spoke to the kid, that's probably the favorite thing to do. Like we want to expose them to dance, we want to expose them to yoga, but you can't. If you like what you like, this is not the
Just
time.
give the opportunity.
Yeah.
Like they wanna make spaces for beds.
There
We
is,
wanna give spaces for kids who actually come in and wanna do creative work, wanna do arts, because
Yeah.
we're just bringing beds in.
so,
We're not thinking
because
about.
the problem is that there are not enough beds. So,
Right, that's what I'm saying.
so that's one. Two, if you look at there is a
But you
space.
just said that they're not exceeding. So where is, if they're not exceeding.
So they can sometimes, so I wanna be clear, right, some nights, she just said right now we only got one extra person. When they came to speak to us at the top of the year, it was very overflow. So it also depends how arrests and convictions and judges' orders are happening, right? So there needs to be an influx, and like I said, does Department of Probation have money to do a community secure supervision, right? So it all depends on like where the space is. Now, we always wanna make sure that if a judge orders a child can be in the community with secure supervision, that there's a program that can take them. What happened in December, there were some programs we could not take people to judge ordered that. So like, it's not right.
How many
So
kids
the bed
can be
ready.
in one
But let
location?
let me step back. There is an outside recreation space in this too. If you look, it says at grade recreation.
Yes, it's an old facility, that's the original.
No, this is together with the annex. So the recreation facility is gonna be, the elevated facility is built with the two gyms inside and the track team, and then there's gonna be an outdoor recreational. So
Yeah,
maybe
so
that's
see,
what that's
weird.
to also
We would,
addition,
we
right?
would know how much room is needed once we know how many kids are able to be together on that one.
We just asked, there's gonna be
She told you how much.
169. And you,
No, in
It's
one
in the
room.
winter
Six.
time, they can't go out. So they will just be inside and that one room.
Well, they said one person per room.
One person
That's
per
what I'm
room.
saying, one person per room.
Yeah, that's what you have to, yes.
Yeah.
It's one
no,
person.
I
So
did
one
a
person
math,
is
you guys,
playing balls?
no, it's 6 times 8, or is it
No, no, 6 times 8 is how many?
So let's
Right.
step back. So there is gonna be, like we talked about, a hundred, what is it, 100 and how many?
69
69 single rooms,
total?
new ones, no,
Yes,
new,
yes.
and then altogether is,
You're wrong.
No, yeah,
No,
what is it?
The
What is it?
whole U is 169, the U is
New
48.
Okay, that's what
Okay,
I
I
the
said
first
that,
thing, yeah. So
48.
48
We're
new
talking
bed,
about one
let
hundred
me finish, please,
sixty-nine
Artie.
beds.
Let me finish, please, Artie. Yes, so we're doing the new ones are all single and the old ones are all gonna be single. They're adding additional beds because they have to, like the chair said, the space that's gonna be, if there's an influx, there's a space for them because they cannot go to the Brooklyn facility, which is the only other juvenile detention facility. So that's one. Two, going to now the recreational spaces. There's the outside recreational spaces in the outside, but that's after the completion. And then the elevated recreation facility was with windows or something.
So this to me is very interesting. I think another question we need to write is to make sure that what we're gonna call the elevated outdoor space is that heated, because Ms. Simpson brought up a good point. When it gets cold, you're not gonna be here. It might not snow, but it still gets cold in New York, right? So you're not gonna be in the outdoor space. So the question is the elevated space, which gives me a very garage feel, like an and so they don't have heating in there. That also is not gonna be utilized in the winter.
We didn't expect that.
Because the question is this a space that can be utilized in the winter? That'd be great.
So that could be a follow up.
Yeah, like is that
That's
a place?
insulation, something like that.
Yeah, we
We
know.
have to get her a card, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm writing them down.
But I saw in the model that showed these are outside spaces, but they're open.
Yeah, they can be,
They're open.
but they can. I mean,
Oh, you can't put heat in there. You can, they're out in the open.
But there are some like indoor spaces.
yeah, the
Or
cover.
maybe they're just showing that the outdoors is big windows that are going to be.
No, I thought it was.
Sure, the medical facility would be closed.
No, of course. We're talking about the elevated.
The
elevated sports.
Yeah, I would
space.
think that safety wise,
No, I thought that was
I
outside.
think safety wise, you have to be enclosed because you don't have no one who can throw something.
Well, then,
do
okay,
something like that.
so here's a question. Just ask for clarification. I thought it was like a garage.
I mean, unless he's trying to show like the breakdown, you see how they trying to show.
Yeah, that's true too. So I thought it was garage, and then because it said the roof. What's it, the
They
roof? I didn't see no
didn't
ceiling.
think about an extra covering.
I didn't see any top on the roof.
From that side, it looks like it's gonna be an indoor outdoor type space.
That's what I.
Yeah,
It was on the.
For the outside.
But yeah, but it doesn't. You see the last that picture you like to show us, the last one.
Yeah, there was a classroom image that she also showed.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's like that, and then it's.
No,
Just
so
discussion
No, but
now.
it's still
We got-
Yeah.
on the side.
okay, so
Yeah,
anyway,
so like any other new businesses or?
no, wait, let me make sure I can adjourn this meeting properly.
Yeah.
So, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting. I think I can record the follow-up questions we have to make sure the elevator thing is outdoors, indoors, whatever. Confirmation on health center, confirmation on indoor flex rooms, and that,
Even for those, like, opposed to.
how many health rooms, if we're gonna get one or two, based on the needs, we should get more, that's based on their needs. I know we have some questions about staffing, which is outside of facilities. Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn this
I'm
meeting?
almost like making motion to adjourn to this meeting.
Okay, meeting adjourned.
Thank you all.
Oh, it's a canopy.
It's like,
That's like,
Canopy.
right, so it's outdoors.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Okay,
So it's like a
so a canopy.
So that is the, that's gonna be good to